The courtroom was too quiet. Not peaceful quiet, no. This was the kind of silence that pressed down on your chest. The kind that made every breath feel heavier than the last. The kind that meant something serious was about to unfold. I sat at the plaintiff's table, staring straight ahead, but I wasn't really seeing anything. My mind was somewhere else, 3 months back, replaying a moment I couldn't escape, a moment that had changed everything. "Your Honor, the facts are clear," my lawyer said, his voice steady but firm. This was not an unavoidable accident. This was negligence. Negligence. The word echoed in the room. Across from us, she shifted in her seat like she was bored. Karen Whitmore. Everything about her screamed control. Her posture, her expression, the way she lightly tapped her manicured nails against the table like she was waiting for something more interesting to happen. She didn't look nervous. She didn't look guilty. She looked entertained. My lawyer continued, laying it all out, how her SUV had mounted the curb, how witnesses reported reckless driving, how a child had been struck in a designated crosswalk. My child, Lily, 9 years old, loves painting, hates math, always laughs too loud at her own jokes. Or at least, she used to. There are lasting consequences to her injuries, my lawyer added. Physical and psychological. There was a pause, a long one. And then, Karen laughed. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't accidental. It was loud, sharp, and completely out of place, like someone laughing during a funeral. A few heads turned instantly. The jurors exchanged uncomfortable glances. Even the court clerk looked up in surprise. Karen leaned forward slightly, shaking her head with a smile that didn't belong in a courtroom. "Your Honor," she said, her tone dripping with disbelief. "Are we seriously doing this?" The judge frowned. "Ms. Whitmore, you will conduct yourself appropriately." "Oh, I am," she replied quickly, but the smirk stayed. "I just find it amazing how far people will go for money." My stomach twisted. Money. That's what she thought this was about. She didn't even look at me when she said it. To her, I wasn't a father fighting for his daughter. I was just another opportunist trying to cash in. Her lawyer stood up smoothly, adjusting his suit like this was just another easy win. "Your Honor, there is no concrete evidence proving that my client acted with negligence. No video footage, no definitive proof, only emotional claims. Emotional claims." I slowly looked down at the empty chair beside me. That chair shouldn't have been empty. That's where Lily was supposed to be. But she couldn't sit there. Not yet, not after everything. Karen followed my gaze, and for the first time she actually looked at me. Not with empathy. Not even with curiosity. With amusement. "Where is the child?" she asked casually, tilting her head. If the injuries are as severe as being claimed, I would assume she'd be present. The day everything changed. 3 months earlier, it started like any other day. The kind you don't think twice about. The kind you assume will end the same way it began. Safe, predictable, normal. I was standing outside Lily's school, leaning against the fence while kids poured out through the gates like a wave of laughter and noise. Parents checked their phones. Teachers called out names. Backpacks bounced. Sneakers scraped pavement. Life. Ordinary, simple life. And then I saw her. Lily came running toward me, her backpack half open, her sketchbook sticking out like always. "Daddy!" she shouted, smiling so wide it could have lit up the whole street. I knelt down just in time for her to crash into me, wrapping her arms around my neck. "Hey, Bug," I said, hugging her tight. "How was school?" "Guess what?" she said, pulling back with excitement. "I got picked for the art wall again." "Of course you did," I smiled. "You're the best artist in the whole school." She giggled. "No, I'm not." "You are to me." She grabbed my hand, swinging it as we walked toward the crosswalk. "I drew a butterfly today," she said. "But not a normal one. Mine had like feelings." I raised an eyebrow. "Feelings?" "Yeah," she nodded seriously. "Like you can tell if it's happy or sad just by the colors." "That sounds pretty amazing." "It is," she said proudly. We reached the crosswalk just as the pedestrian signal turned red. We stopped. Waited. Cars passed by in a steady stream. Lily stood close to me, still talking about her butterfly, her voice full of life, full of energy, full of everything that made her, her. I remember thinking how lucky I was, how nothing in the world could take this moment away. The signal changed. Green. We stepped forward. And then everything broke. A sudden roar of an engine. Too fast. Too close. I turned my head, and all I saw was a silver blur coming straight toward us. No! I reached for Lily, pulling her back. But it happened too fast. Her hand slipped out of mine. And the impact. It wasn't just a sound. It was a force. A violent, sickening force that threw her into the air like she weighed nothing. She hit the ground hard. Too hard. Lily! My voice tore out of me as I ran toward her. The world around me dissolved into chaos. People screaming. Someone dropping something metallic. A car screeching to a halt. I fell to my knees beside her. Her glasses were gone. Her hair was covering part of her face. There was blood, more than I could process. Lily, baby, look at me, I begged, my hands shaking as I tried not to hurt her. Please, sweetheart, please. She didn't move. Didn't respond. Didn't even blink. For one horrifying second, everything went silent. Like the world had just stopped. No, 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 I whispered, panic flooding through every part of me. Stay with me. Please stay with me. Then, a small breath. The hospital truth no one wanted. The ambulance ride felt like it lasted forever. And no time at all. I sat pressed against the wall, gripping the metal railing so hard my fingers hurt, watching the paramedics work over Lily's small body. Like everything depended on seconds. Because it did. Stay with me? Sweetheart, one of them kept saying as he adjusted something near her neck. Machines beeped. Fast, irregular, wrong. I couldn't breathe properly. Every time her chest rose, I counted. Every time it fell, I prayed it would rise again. Is she going to be okay? I asked, my voice barely holding together. No one answered right away. And that silence. That silence said more than words ever could. The emergency room. The hospital doors burst open, and suddenly everything was movement. Bright lights, rushing footsteps. Voices calling out instructions I couldn't fully understand. Head trauma, possible spinal injury. Get imaging ready. Vitals unstable, move. They pulled her away from me. Just like that. Wait! I tried to follow, but a nurse gently stopped me. Sir, you can't go in there right now. I'm her father! My voice cracked. She needs me! And we need to save her, she said firmly, but not unkindly. That stopped me, because she was right. So I stood there, helpless, watching the doors close between us. The waiting. Time doesn't move normally in a hospital. It stretches. It slows. It makes every second feel like a punishment. I sat in a hard plastic chair, staring at nothing, replaying everything over and over again. Her laugh. Her voice. Her hand slipping out of mine. That moment. That one moment I would give anything to take back. A doctor finally walked toward me. Older, serious, tired eyes. And I knew before he even spoke. Something was wrong. Are you Lily's father? He asked. I stood up instantly. Yes, how is she? He paused. Just for a second. But it was enough to make my heart drop. She's stable, he said carefully. But her injuries are significant. My chest tightened. What does that mean? She has multiple fractures, he continued. A concussion. And we're particularly concerned about her spine. The word hit like a hammer. Spine? He nodded slowly. There's swelling. We won't know the full extent until further tests, but there is a risk of long-term damage. Long-term. Damage. I felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. Is she going to walk? I asked. The doctor didn't answer immediately. And that was the answer. The first time she woke up. Hours later. Maybe longer. I don't even know. They finally let me see her. She looked so small in that hospital bed. Smaller than I had ever seen her. Machines surrounded her. Beeping, monitoring, controlling. Her arm was in a cast. Her head wrapped in bandages. And her legs, still. Too still. I walked slowly to her side, afraid that even my presence might somehow hurt her. Hey, Bug, I whispered. No response. I gently took her hand. Cold, fragile. Daddy's here. Her fingers